Welcome back to Crystal Clear! I'm ARTWITHKODA, and with Steven vs. the movie and a 2-year time skip, just as we predicted a little while ago, Steven is now showcasing an evolution of his powers, utilizing what's familiar in brand new ways. And sure, because of that you could argue they aren't brand new powers, but Steven's ability to wander into the dreams of others, enter an entire mindscape, and go into full-on possession are all things that fall under the category of telepathy, but I wouldn't consider those the same power. So let's run through everything new Steven showcased in this film, and really just appreciate how strong our boy is growing. But before we get into that, this video is brought to you by Current. What the heck is Current? Glad you asked. It's freedom and independence. Current is an online bank account for teens that comes with a real Visa debit card that can be used anywhere your heart desires, online, at the mall, wherever your standard card would be accepted. Unlike most banks, however, Current is a much smarter way to handle your hard-earned money. There's no minimum balance requirements, no hidden fees, no overdraft fees, which are caught with a lot of banks. It's much more convenient than cash. It works with Apple Pay and Google Wallet. There's tools to help you save up and track your spending. The list goes on. Though, if you were like me in high school, you probably have a job and you want your money as soon as possible. Luckily, the routing and account numbers have 2-day faster direct deposit. You can get paid 2 days sooner. So how does it work? Well, teens need a parent or adult to download Current, available on iOS and Android in the US, sign up, and merge accounts. Parents can transfer money into the account, set up an allowance, or even pay you per chore around the house, which I wish I had that system growing up. It takes an average of like 2 minutes to sign up, and your Current card will be mailed to you ASAP. Once more, it only takes 2 minutes, and you get your own legit bank account and debit card. You also get $1 for every friend you help sign up. Again, Current is available for iOS and Android using the link in our description. Now on to the video. Alright, so I'm aiming to do this in the order of appearance, but our first ability in particular is elaborated on in the film's resolution, and that is Steven's phytokinesis and healing powers, showcased in the movie as a combination. Some people may consider what Steven pulls off in the movie as either a healing ability or a part of his phytokinesis, but I truly consider it as both working in tandem. Although you could argue the phytokinesis has always relied on Steven's healing powers as they needed saliva, but hear me out. With Steven's phytokinesis, previously, he's only been able to implement the ability by creating new life forms, such as the Watermelon Stevens or Pumpkin, sentient beings whose bodies are fruit, and they don't grow instantaneously. It takes time, typically overnight, for these beings to come to life. Whereas Steven's healing powers have always been instantaneous, but unlike the phytokinesis, they've never caused anything to grow, only restoring what's damaged. His ability to resurrect does feature power bestowal, as evident with Lion and Lars, but with these two especially, they're kind of the opposite of growing. Lion and Lars' ability to age stagnating. Steven's healed cracked gemstones, broken limbs, and even eyesight, but you don't see anything additional growing as a result. I mention all of this because, even though they're displayed in a casual manner, Steven's evolved abilities greatly surpass what was previously shown, as now he has such a strong grip on both his phytokinesis and healing powers, where he's able to instantaneously grow new life. In the beginning of the film, Steven picks what I believe to be a California poppy. However, after removing it from its stem, he's able to douse it with 1 drop of saliva, which as we know causes this flower to instantaneously grow back. And in the film's resolution, after healing Greg's arm, Steven is able, in an instant mind you, to completely restore and grow plant life in areas previously affected by the injector. But notice with each kiss Steven gives to the planet, it's not just grass that immediately sprouts up. There are flowers in the mix as well. And I don't believe this is Steven just restoring dead life, as he and the rest of the crystal gems are within a giant crater created by Spinell's injector. He's creating plant life on a surface that was originally just dirt. Now obviously plants have to come from somewhere and they have to grow in something, but the case I'm making here is Steven just didn't restore dead life. He, in front of our very eyes, created brand new life in seconds. And it really makes you wonder what else Steven can do at this point. Could he produce watermelon Stevens or another pumpkin within seconds? Would he be able to create full-on pieces of gems like his mother? Or is he still too creeped out by watching his mother eat fake gem shards that she created with her own bare hands? I don't know, is it cannibalism? Sound off in the comments. But moving on from the phytokinesis and healing powers, we also have the evolution of Steven's bubbles and shields. Once Steven gets his mojo and his powers back, he's able to summon not just one, but 2 shields. Previously, the only time any form of Steven has been able to use 2 shields is when Steven is a part of Stevani, the fusion themselves summoning 2 shields in the episode Escapism. Rewinding through the series, we know that summoning shields used to take a lot out of Steven. So I imagine even by the end of Change Your Mind, summoning 2 shields would have taken a lot out of Steven. But here he's able to just flex it like it's nothing. Yet that wasn't the most breathtaking part of the sequence. That happens a few seconds later when Steven begins to toggle through his bubbles, going from his standard pink bubble to his spiked bubble to a more peculiar shape, one that more or less resembles crystals. And from there, Steven takes it up a notch, the crystals transitioning into facets, which is identical to Pink Steven's equivalent of a bubble. And considering the order these bubbles appear in, I have no doubts that this indicates that Pink Steven's form of a bubble is far stronger than the standard bubble. After all, it was able to endure White Diamond's attacks head on. And Steven pops his faceted bubble to push back Spinel, much like how Pink Steven popped his bubble to push back White Diamond and the controlled gems. But what does this exactly mean? If you guys recall my thoughts from my Pink Steven breakdown at the beginning of the year, if not, I don't think a refresher would hurt, but Pink Steven isn't necessarily stronger than Steven, as Steven's organic half and Steven's gem half are just 2 sides of the same coin, but rather that Pink Steven is raw power. Pink Steven has no chains on himself, not restrained by Steven's humanity and Steven's resistance to violence. However, I also believe there's only so much Steven can do in his organic body, which is why Pink Steven was able to use his full power. So I believe the more Steven grows, the more his body will be able to endure Pink Steven's powers, and the more he'll become aware and comfortable with his abilities. That he'll be able to restrain himself because he knows how much power he needs to put into an ability. And yeah, I'm still holding out that all these factors will accumulate in Steven achieving a pink diamond-like transformation, complete with the diamond irises and glowing pink hair. Look, I say this almost every video, but a boy can dream. A boy really can dream. And that takes us to the last of Steven's new abilities we got to see in this movie. That also proposes the question of, should Steven be more violent? Alright, so of course I'm referring to Steven's bubble boxing gloves. During his final battle with Spinel, Steven was able to produce 2 bubbles around both of his hands, using them to combat Spinel. Now we know how durable Steven's bubbles are, but we aren't too sure of how they feel. I ask this because I've noticed in my comment sections that a lot of people are put off by Steven fighting Spinel head on, using his fist. Why did Steven fight back instead of continuing to use his shield or just produce one big bubble? But there are 2 factors you have to keep in mind here. Boxing gloves are used for safety, to protect the one dishing out the blows, but also to protect the receiving end who's getting decked in the face, which falls in line with Steven's pacifist let's not try to fight nature. But also during this fight, Steven only used the boxing gloves to counter Spinel's attacks. For every fist she swung, Steven met with his bubble gloves. At no point did Steven just start wailing on Spinel. I could see if he was trying to settle the score and give her a nosebleed. Yeah, I know, gems don't probably bleed, but they do blush, so. But the way Steven still utilized his fist here, which is innately more offensive, is still in a defensive manner. But I am curious. It makes sense that if Steven can produce 2 bubbles around his hands, then he can also add spikes to those bubbles, or cause them to evolve into the more multifaceted bubbles that Pink Steven possesses, which definitely would have hurt. But with the question, should Steven fight even if it's to protect himself, Rebecca Sugar made a comment that alluded to this in a recent interview with the AVTV Club. I also think Steven has this way of trying to handle and dissolve conflict. It's not necessarily a good way for him to handle the situation. It really leaves him in a difficult state, and I think what I wanted to show in the way that they interact is that at a certain point, when you can't help someone, you have to protect yourself. Ultimately, he can't really convince her to change. It's something she'll have to want for herself, but what he can do is protect himself from her, making it impossible for her to hurt him. It's sort of up to you if you would like to love her. If you watch this movie and she, you know, frustrates you, that is totally fair. I want that to be a big part of who she is. So there you have it. Ultimately, Steven had to create a situation where Spinel could not harm him. After all, that's her goal. If you take that out of the equation without harming her, but still have Steven defending himself, even with his fist, then is he betraying his pacifist ways? Just something to think about. Which of these evolved new abilities of Steven's do you like the most? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at ARTWITHKODA, where also on Instagram. Special thanks to ARTWITHKODA for creating an awesome thumbnail. For more of his wonderful art, you can find him on Tumblr and Instagram at ARTWITHKODA and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Link down below in the description. Help the Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please throw a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. ARTWITHKODA signing out.